Hello and welcome to the 11 Steps to Sirius JoY audio lecture series. I'm your heartfelt host and your Sensei to Sirius JoY, Christopher Witecki. This is episode 13, titled Step 11, I Become. In the episodes that have preceded this final episode, I have talked about the 11 Steps to Sirius JoY in many different ways. It is first and foremost a methodology for manifesting the reality you desire. It's also a checklist for yourself and your own self-awareness. It's also a hierarchy of human consciousness, what comes first and what comes last. And it's an architecture for spiritual incarnation. It tells us how spirit becomes solid and the steps that are involved. Well, today we're going to learn that the 11 Steps to Sirius JoY is also a recipe for your personal integrity. In our last episode, I discussed the royal producer, known as Step 10, or the I Manifest Consciousness. As I explained, this is a compound consciousness that you must stand on after you've already populated and aligned the 10 steps before it, all these different states of awareness. And when you get to Step 10, you must love and protect and trust. This is like a note, almost like a musical note that you hold. Loving and trusting, loving and trusting. I liken it to the bird sitting on the egg, waiting for that egg to hatch. And as soon as the egg cracks open, as soon as the beak of that new little bird pokes out through the eggshell, or as soon as your manifestation goal arrives, you have arrived to Step 11, I Become. Technically, it's called I Become because at the moment you actually arrive at your destination, you become what it is you seek. Remember, what you be is what comes. When it arrives, you become that vibration. So if you're manifesting things such as a house, when the house arrives, you become a homeowner. When the love comes, the love of your life, you become a lover. When the child comes that you've been calling for, you become a parent. So in the architecture of incarnation, it's not about what you are attracting or what you're trying to manifest. Spirit cares about what you become. Many people are stuck because they're obsessing on the object of their desires. In the world of spirituality, God is obsessing on who you are becoming. I've stated in prior episodes that life is about the experience of who you really are. That's how reality is built, for you to experience who you really are, and therefore who you want to become next. So the conscious goal is what you will experience. The conscious goal of manifestation is who you will be and who you will become. It's not what you will own. It's not what people will think. It's not the status you will achieve. It's not how you'll go down in history. As you know, most people create their vision boards or their goals based on one of those things. Status, what you will receive, how rich you will be. Everyone is focused on the outcome. They're not focused on the experience. Everyone is focused on the goal, and they're not focused on the process. It's the process and mastering the process that will bring the outcome. If you focus on the outcome, it will not reveal the process. This is why so many people are stuck. They're looking at the goal and where they want to go, and they're expecting that the path will just magically rise up. Of course, it never does. This audio lecture series focused on the 11 Steps to Sirius JoY is the process. It's the process in which you must master this multi-conscious awareness of all of your inner personalities. And by mastering this, you will become the desired result. And when you become the desired result will come to you. Now, in every step, I've actually likened it to an inner personality, a certain trait in our personality that we must manage on the inside. Let's review real quickly. Step 0 is our inner executioner, the one that draws the lines. Step 1 is the king or queen, our heart and what it wants. Step 2 is the baby inside of us, or the nanny once we start to get mature. Step 3 is the royal scribe, the part that believes and writes the story and points the right direction. Step 4 is the instigator, the part of us that gets the fire started. Step 5 is the court gesture, our mind and our thoughts bringing it all together into a framework. Step 6 is our justice of the peace, the part of us that goes back and forth judging whether we're willing to open up to where this is headed. Step 7 is the royal oracle, where we connect to our higher self and we see, is this aligned with our spiritual destiny and our path? Step 8 is the director, the part of us that must make all the final decisions into what goes into this manifestation or what doesn't. Step 9 is the royal knight, the part of us that takes that decision and puts it into action. And our last episode, Step 10, the royal producer, the part of us that holds all the elements together until it comes into our final performance. And that brings us to Step 11. Step 11 is the royal performer. Each human being has a performer inside of them. It's the part of you that can ride a bicycle, the part of you that can dance a dance routine, the part of you that can play a sport or play a musical instrument. It's the part of you that can fix a car engine. It's also the part of you that will perform a temper tantrum if you don't get what you want. Once you become something, you perform it. Step 11 in classic astrology is the sign of Virgo. I believe Virgo is ruled by the comet asteroid of Chiron, but that's another discussion for another time. But if you know Virgos, they're known to be anal retentive, super hyper aware of all these details that seem to be not important to the rest of us. They're healers, they're analysts, they're organizers. Virgo consciousness rules the human body, how the body comes together into this magnificent system. It rules our personal health. It rules our workplace. Virgos are known to be high maintenance and high strung, and sometimes just frankly bizarre creatures. The truth is, Virgos are performers, and they're performers often with performance anxiety. Their anal retentiveness is because they sit on top of all 10 steps. They have to be conscious of all the steps before step 11, so they're consumed with many details. They're healers because they're trying to get into the body of performing. They're trying to get the body to perform. They try to make it all work. So they have this sense of which of the steps is out of place. They have a sense of what is preventing the situation from, quote, performing. They are organizers because they have to look at all these 11 steps before them, and they have a sense for what's out of step and what isn't. They're also interested in things always operating better. So they like things to be organized so that they can make it perform better because they are natural performers. And they're analysts because they love to reveal why something is not performing well. They want to know which of the steps is out of place, where is it out of place, and why. Once you become something and begin to perform something, then the experience is alive and things become real. Therefore, step 11 in the 11 steps of Sirius JoY is when things actually become real. Virgos are attached to the reality, every little aspect of the reality, every real part of it that we know. And as you know, managing reality is not an easy task. Once things become real, humans begin to fear that it's going to stay stuck that way. Human beings forgot or are unaware that they created this experience, the sum of all of their actions and what they were manifesting, that this is a reality they created. And since it's a reality you create, it's a reality you can destroy and recreate again, but reality is so real, we feel stuck in this reality. Welcome to what it's like being a Virgo. What's interesting about reality is that paradox. I always talk about the paradox. Well, in the 11 steps to Sirius JoY, 11, reality is the last step. We move from spirit, we move from protection in our heart, all the way to step 11, where it becomes reality. But the weird thing is in human consciousness, step 11, reality, is the first step people are actually aware of. Everyone is all aware of the final step. People are not necessarily awake of the other 11 steps that lead to that final step. Reality manifests from the inside of us outward, but human awareness seems to be from the outside to within. We first see it in reality, then we go back a step and go, how did I end up in this reality? Step 10. Then we go back a step and go, well, what did I do to lead me into this reality? So it's actually backwards to the way the steps perform. We experience reality from the outside in, but we manifest reality from the inside out. Now, the number 11 describes this process in a visual sense. At step 10, think of the number 10. You are loving step 1 and you are trusting step 0. And that 0 is a placeholder. So you're loving and trusting, loving and trusting, loving and trusting. This love blasts through the 0. I almost look at it like light going through a glass window. The 1 is the light, and it goes to this glass window of the 0, this boundary, this protection. And eventually what happens is that love, shining out like a beacon, like a lighthouse, eventually attracts another one just like it. That's what 11 is. When the one I love attracts a mirror of the one I love. That's step 11. That's the law of attraction. One will draw in another one. This is literally describing the process of how the universe is a mirror of everything we are in the up to step 10, being mirrored in a 1. In 11, when we're just focusing on ourself, the first one in the 1 is what you are. The second one in the 1 is what you become. So when we're in performance mode, we're always aware of who we are and what we're becoming. That's exactly what we're thinking when we're an athlete or a musician. What are we doing now and what do we do next, right? Who are we now? Who are we next? Now, one of the reasons why Virgos are often unhappy creatures is because they're extremely aware of what they are, the first one, and they're also aware of what they want to become, the second one, and they're miserable because they realize they're not what they want to become, and they realize that they are what they are. And because reality feels so damn real to them, they feel that this is going to be stuck forever, and they get stuck in this. They become more aware of their goal and less aware of what they are. And when you start to focus on the second one over the first one, when you get more focused on the image versus the source of that image, you become miserable in the step 11 process. So you get kind of like stuck in this reality of what you are and what you want to become, and the net of that is what you're not. And this is your pessimistic Virgo or your pessimistic person who has step 11 issues. They're always focused on what they're not. And when the royal performer is focused on what it's not, it turns into the royal critic. The royal critic in us is the negative side of the performer, just like the royal director can become a royal dictator if not managed correctly. The critic in us is the part of us that gets focused on the outside one, that gets focused on the image, that gets focused on the reality, instead of being focused on the inside one of who you are and what you love. So the critic becomes overly focused on the outcome of the experience versus the process of being or becoming. And reality is based on the experience of being a human being, not on the outcome. So as soon as you start focusing on just the outcome, you're working against the laws of humanity and reality. What's funny here is this is the exact same way it is for any performer, I think, who's trying to perform on stage or in front of other people. If you're focused on your image and what people are seeing, you're going to lose touch with your performance. You cannot be looking at yourself from the outside. You must, understanding 11 steps to Sirius JoY, look at yourself from the inside. You can overly become obsessed with the image in the mirror, and you can detach from your power and your source of light simply because you got too caught up in reality and not caught up in the process of manifesting reality. So you become in your heart the image and not the source of the image. So the management of step 11 is when you focus on the image, you're the critic. When you focus on the source, you're the performer. Now, many Virgos have a hard time and get sort of pouty because they want absolute control over both. They want control over the source and they want control over the outcome. And I understand that. I'm human. I want the same thing. But in co-creation, co means 50% is you, 50% is law of attraction. We are by nature 50% of the magic. So Sensei says, the way to become and to perform your best is to focus on the source, you. To focus on the 11 steps that came before that final step and release control of that outer one. What the 11 steps have taught me is you can only control your own performance. You cannot control the outcome directly. The more control you are of your performance, the more you will see and experience your desired outcome. But if you're focused on the outcome, you end up losing connection to your source, to yourself, to your core, and you end up losing connection of what you're doing. And that forces you to become more and more and more controlling in the outer world. So this is why people who are crazy control freaks in the outer world, they're actually out of control in their inner world. And each makes the other go further out of control. They're focused on controlling their image, and they lose control of their source. This is why good critics are usually horrible at performing, and really good performers usually make bad critics. You know, when you look at step 1 in its architecture, it is its own step. It's a compound step. It's a Virgo. This is why Virgos can seem kind of heavy, because they're actually two numbers, a 1 and a 1, which technically is a Leo I love next to a Leo I love, which technically means a Virgo is really two Leos on the inside. Now maybe you can understand them. They always have two things their heart wants at any moment, and they're always focused on what they are and what they want to become. This is why they can be so restless on the inside. But if you focus on the 11 steps of Sirius JoY in the order of the steps, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to step 11, step 11 is the step where you become what it is your heart wants to become. This is when the king or queen actually makes a public appearance. And this is when your heart has the ability to dance and perform and interact with the outer reality. If you come from the critic and you don't go from the inside, then this is really that emperor that has no clothes, which, if you know Virgos, that's what they're totally afraid of. They're totally afraid of being out there and looking like a jackass, and that only comes, again, from paying attention to the image first instead of who you are and who you are becoming. Now, you might ask, when your heart is out there and you law of attract the next person or the next event, or you get that equal, that mirror image of you, what is it that you are supposed to do in that moment? And how do you know you're actually not an emperor without clothes? How do you know you can trust this? The answer is by how you feel. Remember, step 11 is a compound step. What you love, step 1, will law of attract what you love, step 1. This means you have to love yourself in the first one, and you have to love your image in the second one. And what's interesting, and one of the secrets to the 11 steps of Sirius JoY, is these add together. In other words, the 1 plus the 1 equals 2, which is I feel. When you love yourself and you love your image, you will step 2 feel a certain way. So, step 11 teaches me that the secret to performance is not the details, it's not the image, it's how you feel while you are performing. Remember, step 2, way back in our early episode, I talked about how feelings hold the information from all the 11 steps of Sirius JoY. How emotion is between I love at step 1, the core, the king and the queen, and how feelings then reach up all the way up to step 11. It is at step 11 that we return back to the step 2 feeling. When you get to the point of manifesting and the mirror image arrives, it's not to be judged, it is to be loved, and felt. The way you manage the arrival of your manifestation and the way you become what it is you want to manifest is by a feeling. You focus on the feeling of being you. You focus on the feeling of the love, and you experience that feeling. Because after all, that is why you have incarnated on earth, to feel and to experience what it is to be you. And if something doesn't feel right, the lesson is not to go into the image and judge by the image, but to rather go back through the steps and feel which step might be off. Do you feel vulnerable? Is it step 0? Do you feel like you can believe in this experience? Is it step 3? Do you feel your thoughts are on board, or are they working against you? Step 5. You literally use this feeling to diagnose in the moment what is off. Just like an athlete will feel that their posture is off, or a musician will feel that their fingering is off on the keyboard or on the guitar board. So in the end, really it comes back to where we begin. The point of manifestation is to feel who you really are, to manifest what it is that you want. You want to focus on what experience you will feel and what you will feel that you become. By focusing on that feeling of what you'll become, you'll actually manifest what you desire faster. And even if you don't populate all the 11 steps of Sirius JoY with conscious intention, just simply feeling what it is you want to become will draw it in by skipping to step 11. All right, my friend and earthly neighbor, this concludes my series, at least my beginner series, on the 11 steps to Sirius JoY. The truth is that when it comes to manifesting reality and mastering reality, there's actually 29 steps and one hidden step. These first 11 steps bring you to the point of manifestation. But in my future dialogues, or in my classes or upcoming experiences, I'm going to share with you how we move from this to step 12. Step 12 is when you feel it, you will know it. And we'll get in those dynamics one day in our future. Until then, I'm grateful for you listening, and I'm grateful for you sharing this with your friends and family, whoever's ready to apply these steps and manifest their Sirius JoY. Until next time, do remember that I love you, and to live, love, be.
Live, love, be.